If you are not in the world of choir music, then you probably do not know about the ongoing situation between composer Rosephanye Powell and Indiana Bible College. The dispute involves similarities between Powell's The Word Was God, which was originally published in 1996, and Indiana Bible College's John 1 that came out earlier this year. I'll play them back to back for educational purposes.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in at the beginning with God.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in at the beginning with God.
There have been a lot of videos explaining the similarities between the two of them, while a number of commenters have said that they don't sound anything alike. Now, I've seen a number of comments that want to give Indiana Bible College the benefit of the doubt, and that's perfectly fine. But here are some other possibilities that have been raised in those comments. Number one, is it a performance of Powell's work? That sort of thing happens in choir music all the time. But the only way for a choir to perform an existing work is to purchase it, and changes cannot legally be made without permission. Number two, is it a cover? I see covers on YouTube all the time. But one, unlicensed covers typically involve someone playing a guitar alone in their room, and this, as you can tell from the video, is a whole production. And then two, you can't legally profit off an unlicensed cover unless you have all of the proper permissions. 3. Is it an arrangement? This would be a compelling case, except for the fact that Indiana Bible College isn't claiming that it's an arrangement. And as we will talk about later, you need permission to produce and to perform an arrangement. Again, you cannot legally change an existing work without permission. So, number 4 then, is this an original work? The problem lies with the fact that Indiana Bible College is claiming that this is an original work. They have listed a number of composers on their original YouTube video, none of whom are Powell. By claiming it as original, they can then profit off of it. So the question is this an original work or is this a derivative work? And that's what we're going to examine today. U.S. copyright law uses the phrase substantial similarity as its measuring stick, but I am not as qualified to talk about U.S. copyright law as I am to talk about music. So I'd like to examine the two pieces to see if there is substantial similarity from a compositional and a music theory standpoint. And this is not just a thought experiment. This has real-world impact on ownership, on legal protection, and on fair pay to those who create musical ideas. But this video might get a little bit philosophical and abstract, so just stick with me. The question that we're really getting at here is, what is the essence of a work of music? And perhaps that sounds a little bit too philosophical, but I would say that the essence of a musical work is the set of attributes that gives it its distinct identity and allows it to be recognized as that piece regardless of how it is realized in sound. So as we go through this discussion, keep that question in mind. What is the essence of a musical work? And more specifically, what is the essence of The Word Was God? And what is the essence of John 1? In order to really get all of our ducks on the same page, we need to look at 3 different types of music writing that are relevant to this discussion. Number 1, composition. Composition is creating an original musical idea, both the music and the lyrics that go with it. Speaking of lyrics, I've seen a number of comments that talk about the text of the two pieces. Both of them are taken from John 1 in the Bible, so the fact that the lyrics are the same is really not the issue here. I know that the connotation of the term composition might lean some people towards classical or instrumental writing, but it's much broader than that. If you write a song, that's composition. If you write a motif on a napkin, that's composition. If you write a beat and then loop it, that's composition. The composition is the original musical idea. And when I say original, I don't mean like the first, I mean like original to you, unique to you. The original musical idea. And of course, compositions usually have more than one original musical idea. Obviously, there's a lot more that we could say on composition, but that's enough to get us started. Number 2, arranging. Arranging is the organizing of musical ideas into a specific expressive presentation. So if a composition is the idea, arranging is how that idea is presented. Arranging is also responsible for deciding the overall form of the work, in what order musical ideas are presented and how they repeat. And yes, in these two songs, we do have some similarities in the form, and you can see them here. But form is considered a very common element of music. Just think about all of the songs that have verse, chorus, bridge, chorus as their form. Number 3, orchestration. Orchestration is assigning different instruments and voices to play or sing the various parts. Orchestration is more than just writing for an orchestra. You might want to think of it as the term instrumentation. Orchestration also controls the realization of the texture, how the texture is brought to life through different instruments and voices. And when I say texture, these are terms like homophonic, polyphonic, those sorts of things, and we do see similarities in the texture between these two songs. Namely, we see similar textures in the use of pedal points. We have the bass pedal in The Word Was God, and then the soprano-alto pedal points in John 1 in the second iteration of the A section. We have the progressive entrances of voices to fill out the texture. We see that in both songs. And we also have the splitting of the choir into two sets of two voices. These are all common textural techniques in choral music, but it is just one more tally mark in the similarities column. Arranging and orchestrating are very similar, but they have very distinct purposes. Perhaps for just a broad generalization, we could say that arranging chooses the shape and orchestration chooses the color. Now, there is an obvious difference in instrumentation between the two works. The Word Was God is entirely choir. John 1 has drums and guitars and synthesizers. But it's entirely possible to focus too much on this difference in instrumentation and not on the similarities, and therefore dismiss them as not the same. Differences in instrumentation are differences of arranging and orchestration and not of composition. While at first it might seem that instrumentation is an important factor in composition, arranging and orchestrating are not strictly composition. It might sound a little bit nitpicky, but this is an important distinction, and it makes sense intuitively. Let's look at this a few ways. If I was to ask you to sing a song from your favorite band, you would probably sing me the melody, and I would recognize it as that song just from your singing, despite the fact that you did not have guitars and drums and pianos or whatever else was on the original recording with you. Similarly, if you were to take the melody of that song and play it on an instrument instead of singing it, I would still be able to recognize it as that song. Even if I played it on an instrument that wasn't in the original recording, we would still be able to recognize it as that song. So in short, a change in instrumentation does not change the essence of a musical idea. And just as a side note, this is the same for key and tempo. If I was to change the key or change the speed, it would not change the song's identity. And one last note on arranging is that we often think of it as taking the work of another and recontextualizing it, and it often is. But arranging is simply choosing how a composition is presented. That means that every fully realized composition is also an arrangement of its own materials. So we have number 1, the composition, which is the musical ideas. This is the melody, sometimes harmony, the rhythm, and the melodic form. This is more abstract of a concept. And then 2, we have arranging and orchestrating. And this is a more concrete concept, but this is the specific way that the ideas, the composition, is brought to life through things like structure, dynamics, articulation, texture, those sorts of things. Composition is the original idea. Orchestrating is assigning instruments or voices to realize that idea, and then arranging is placing that idea into a context. So in our case, Rosephanye Powell is not only the composer of The Word Was God, she is also the orchestrator and, quote, the first arranger of that material. Later arrangers will then recontextualize the original idea and typically provide some sort of musical commentary. But within US copyright law, arrangements are considered derivative works, which means a few things. Number one, they are based on an existing work. And number two, they require permission from the original author or publisher to then produce, publish, and sell. This would mean that Indiana Bible College would need to get permission from both the composer and the publisher in order to create a derivative work of The Word Was God. All of that being said, this is why a difference in instrumentation does not preclude the possibility that these works are substantially similar from a musical perspective, because none of these differences or similarities actually address the core of the musical ideas. And to examine that, we need to look at the anatomy of a melody. We talked earlier about the essence of a musical work. Depending on the musical context, this could be melody, it could be harmony, it could be rhythm, it could be feel, perhaps form. Most often though, particularly within a Western context, we equate the melody with the essence. And in most modern music that has lyrics, the hook, or the chorus, the refrain, whatever it is that you want to call it, is the heart of the essence. This is not always the case. If you think about a song like Billie Jean, arguably the instrumental introduction to that song is more of the heart, is more the essence of that song than the chorus. So we can't just make sweeping generalizations about what the essence is. It's more of a case-by-case basis, but the essence is almost always easily identifiable. So to me, it's pretty clear that the essence of The Word Was God is this opening idea. And the essence of John 1 is also its opening idea. This is the most repeated idea in both works, and perhaps more subjectively, it is the most memorable idea in both. Since we are looking at the essence of both of these works, I will be looking at just the opening ideas from both pieces. If you want to listen to the entirety of both songs, I encourage you to do so. There are some similarities within the B section. The most obvious similarity between the two B sections is that the motif that John 1's B section is based on is a direct quote from The Word Was God, as you can see here. The notable difference is they use different portions of John 1 as the text for the B section, but for this video, I'm going to be focusing on the similarities in the essence of the works, which is the opening idea in the A section. So you may be asking, why is melody so often the essence of a musical work? And there's a number of reasons why. Number one, it has almost immediate recognition. The melody is the part that people hum, that they sing, that they recognize. It's what makes a musical work almost instantly identifiable without context or harmonization or instrumentation. Number two, the melody alone can carry the emotional contour, even without lyrics or accompaniment. And number three, the melody remains recognizable even when other things change. These other things can include harmony or perhaps a reharmonization. It could be tempo, key, instrumentation, texture, a number of things that we've talked about before. The melody is still recognizable even if we change these other things. If you've seen my video on how many musical elements there are, I actually argue in that one that melody is not an element of music, but it's actually a compound. Melody is made up of rhythm, pitch, timbre, and form. But when analyzing a melody, I think there are four characteristics that can help us distinguish that melody, and in this particular case, determine how similar two melodies are. And those are contour, rhythmic identity, intervallic relationships, and then phrasing and repetition. These four things make melodies unique. And this is why they are the most protectable under US copyright law, because they are more distinct than some of the other elements that we've looked at. So let's dive into each one of them a little deeper. Let's first look at contour, which is the shape of the melody. I had access to Powell's original score, but I had to transcribe the IBC version. And if you can't read sheet music, that's fine. I'm actually going to remove it. I'm actually just going to draw a line over each of the notes, and then we're going to remove the notation. You'll notice that there are some minor differences, but the overall shape is the same. Both start on the 5th scale degree and end on the 1. Number 2, rhythmic identity. Let's take pitch out of it and just hear the rhythm of both. In both cases, we have this string of eighth notes which slow to become quarter notes at the cadences, both taking up 4 measures. One starts on the downbeat, one starts on an offbeat. These are super minor differences. You'll notice that there is a slight rhythmic variation within the second phrase, but the third phrase, the cadence is identical. So not only is the overall shape of the melody the same, the structure is the same as well. Number 3, intervallic relationships. Again, the key is irrelevant to the identity of the song, so let's put both of them in the same key. One is originally in A minor, the other is in E flat minor, so let's meet in the middle and go with F sharp minor. The first phrase is almost identical. We have stepwise motion that covers a third. The final 2 notes are an ascending second. The second phrase, again, gives us a slight difference, and it's the second phrase that gives us the biggest difference at all in this entire melody, which is in John 1, the note stays the same, where in The Word Was God, it jumps down a fifth. But again, the third phrase is almost identical with a descending fifth in both. It might be useful at this point to at least mention harmony. Both of them have a minor tonality, but typically chord progressions are not considered to be part of musical essence. They don't really make a piece unique. Just look at all of the songs that use a 1-4-6-5 chord progression. When looking at musical essence, I'm much more concerned about the intervallic relationships within the melody. And number 4, we have phrasing and repetition. Both of these works have a 3-phrase structure to their opening idea, both of them taking up 4 measures like I mentioned before. The major difference to this opening section is that The Word Was God actually has a second idea in the opening section where John 1 does not. Perhaps you're in the camp that would say there's only so many ways to arrange 12 notes, or perhaps you would say that artists use the material of other artists all the time. But as we have seen from both a compositional and a music theory perspective, John 1 is strikingly similar in its essence and expression to The Word Was God, well beyond coincidence. And you might just say that John 1 was influenced by The Word Was God, but there are too many similarities for that to remain a possibility. The thing, of course, is that I can say whatever I want to in this video, and you can say whatever it is that you want to in the comments, and we can look at it from a musical perspective, but in reality, it's in the hands of US copyright law. And Dr. Powell has the legal right to defend her intellectual property. Composers, really all musicians, need legal protection. Not just so that they get the compensation that they are due from their labors, but also that they get the recognition that they are due from their ideas. The ability to make a living, the freedom to innovate, and the ability to leave an artistic legacy are all largely based on the protection that artists get from US copyright law. Thanks for watching.